Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, and this is my 5-year Channelversary video. Motherfucker, 5 years doing this shit. Definitely seen some entertaining shit. I thought I would actually be dead before Supernatural finished, but here we go. And you're like, wait a minute, wouldn't Jensen and Jared be like older than you? Yeah. It's just, well, with one of my reviews, I'm like, holy crap, it's crazy to see that we saw the end of that one in this cycle that we've been doing all these crazy reviews. So, I've liked that I've been doing this stuff for 5 years. It's been fun and entertaining, even though this is also going to be around with the Velocipaster review. So, yeah. It doesn't induce some insanity, but hey, you gotta find some silver linings with certain things. So it's cool. I mean, I've seen a lot of good stuff. I've been able to think about why I like certain things and bring more of that into my reviews. I have seen over time differences in how I at least approach what I like about media and what I dislike about media. So doing that for 5 years and seeing that evolution is really kind of cool. And especially with talking with you guys in the comments section as well. Sometimes you bring up something that I didn't even think about, and that makes it kind of change my perspective on something, or gives even a different kind of value add to a certain thing that I was talking about. And like, yeah, that's why I do this. To tell you what I think about something, see what you guys think about it, and converse and figure out what's good, what's bad, why that is, and what we can do. So yeah, it's just crazy to be doing it for 5 years. I like it. Still gonna do it as much as possible, so that's always cool. So because of the ongoings of the whole thing with the pandemic and everything, my movie portions have been, correct term, fucked up to say the least. Like hell, the last movie I saw in a theater was the My Hero Academia movie, the second one that they put out. That's nuts. But we will see as this year goes on that since they are going to be putting more movies on certain streaming services as well, that will kind of definitely change up some certain things. Like HBO Max is going to be having like a good amount of movies. Like I'm looking forward to. Of course, Godzilla vs. Kong, The Matrix, Dune, when that pops off. There's quite a few on there that I'm glad that they're putting on the streaming services, so that way you can have that. Coming to America, the sequel will be coming out shortly as well on Amazon, so that's kind of cool to be able to do that. I have been doing more stuff on Amazon because I went fucking nutso on The Expanse, which I enjoyed that series. It's just, I really should have probably paced myself a little bit better, but I got to the end. I caught up with that the end of that 5th season. So yes, I still enjoyed it. That was still kind of cool. So I'm definitely also looking for any kind of other suggestions with other kind of things. I'll be bringing back in stuff more with like Netflix and everything. It's just they were kind of on like, not a hiatus or whatnot for me. It's just I'm kind of letting more stuff kind of team back up with that. And of course, all of my reviews kind of got shifted around because I'm kind of noticing that I'm going to be doing more stuff with streaming stuff. And I've got a whole different kind of like lineup with all those different kind of things going on. Because usually I'd have some things on TV, some things on streaming, of course, then movies, comic books, of course, which are always going to pretty much be here to stay because I've been really enjoying the stuff that Marvel's been putting out with the comics and all that. Though in May, that one's going to be a little bit mucked up because a couple of them get on hiatus because they're doing a Heroes Reborn kind of thing. So that's kind of outside of my control. But it is what it is with what Marvel's doing with that event. So that's the only kind of like little blip that'll be occurring with that whole kind of thing. But otherwise, that's going to be a nice kind of thing that's still there. Of course, always looking for any kind of suggestions, anywise on anything. I could also look into potentially doing game reviews or whatnot. I just have to figure out what goes on. Now, the thing is, when I do a game review, I want to get as deep as possible. So if it's like a new one, depending upon kind of like how it would like work out, and if I'm super interested into it, it would still be like vastly off when it is released before a review of it would get out. That's kind of why I attempted to do my own kind of thing. Not like if a certain video game thing is bang on, or like somebody wants a review for it, sure, I think about doing something like that. It's not going to be like up to the minute algorithm. I don't give a crap. The algorithm's gone nutso butso anyway. I also did a book review for the Wheel of Time series, so I could potentially look into doing stuff with that, particularly with certain stuff with like The Expanse and Dune, because I am going to be reading the Dune book before I watch the Dune movie to kind of get a better idea. I have seen the 1980s version of Dune, not in its entirety though, but man, oof, also do the same kind of thing with The Expanse as well. So that way, certain things can be kind of like compared and contrasted, like what made it into a show or into a movie versus what was in the book, and if they had done something either worse, better, or some change around that actually kind of worked out. So, game-wise reviews, I wouldn't be adverse to that. So it's just mainly if somebody like wants my my opinion or whatnot, or my views on what was going on in a game. Yeah, of course. And I'm also gung-ho to also talk about them in the comic sections as well. So feel free to put that kind of stuff in there as well. No biggie. So let us see what is going on. Alright, so I got you on the movies, pretty much with HBO Max and Amazon, because I am interested to see how they do the stuff with Coming with America too, because I like that Eddie Murphy movie, and I enjoy Eddie Murphy as an actor, so it'll be interesting to see him doing stuff with that character again. And let's see, Netflix, I think that's more mainly shows or whatnot that I'm more interested in. That mainly skews to the anime side, though I have seen stuff on Amazon anime-wise that I will be watching as well, to review those as well. But there are certain things on Netflix that I'm going to have to look into, yeah. Now, I was able to get Disney Plus for longer, so I will be able to do a review for, like, WandaVision when that's all finished up. And also do a review for, like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They're just kind of, like, deal for, like, 6 months or whatnot for Disney Plus. And I'm like, I have to do that! But I also had, like, a free trial thing that I had through, like, Game Pass Ultimate for Xbox when that was a perk or whatnot. So I did that first, and then I got this one backed out so I can be able to finish up WandaVision, watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then I'm geared up for Loki as well when that pops off in June, I think. I don't know how long that'll go, so hopefully I have Disney Plus long enough for that to occur. If not, it happens. Because I only say that because WandaVision, I was originally going to be able to finish that off with my Game Pass Ultimate month for Disney Plus. But then they're like, yeah, we were going to do 6 episodes, now we're going to do 9 episodes. And then I'm like, you... Granted, I have been enjoying that so far. I'll give more my full impressions in my review. There are some interesting aspects that it does introduce, but I'll get more into it when it's fully done, so that way I can see all the way to its completion and do that. Now, granted, with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, since I'll have that popped off for when the episodes come up, I'll be able to do that one by an episode-by-episode basis. And that is supposed to be 6, barring any unforeseen changes that occur. So, yeah, if you're interested in that, look forward to that. Otherwise, I'm open to suggestions on pretty much a lot of medium fronts. And we'll just kind of see. I've kind of been doing my reviews like this, where, granted, sometimes I'll have an outline, but most of the times I have my ideas of what goes on, and then I just pretty much do it like this, one take, figure out kind of my progression, and then just to pretty much start it and see if anybody gets something, and then have that conversation continue in the comments section. And I think that's been working out pretty well. I do find that I'm able to shift into different kind of things and shift into different kind of portions of reviews. So I kind of like doing that, because it helps with figuring out how you want to progress a conversation and how you want to progress a review. Now, granted, when I was doing my Game of Thrones one, when I was really deep into like lore and whatnot, with what was going on, I would take more copious notes and everything, but I found out that it would be like, okay, these are kind of more in-depth than what is needed. Though granted, certainly if there's like a big kind of development, I'm like, okay, here's this note, and this will help kind of like jump off to certain things. So that's just kind of like the structure that I like with these reviews. I'm not adverse to like scripting them out and doing like extensive and more editing, but I would have to invest into a different kind of software. Whereas this, I usually have a time limit of like 1 hour. I mean, granted, I could stitch stuff together, but otherwise you then start losing your flow and your momentum, and that's where that kind of balancing trade-off kind of occurs. But that's just to give you kind of an idea of how I kind of do this stuff. And this, I just recently acquired because it's like, hey, this was on sale. And this is kind of like my dinner theater kind of jacket, that do kind of stuff where you see that person like sitting there with that like weird pipe by a fire and that book, and be like, oh, welcome as we discuss these things. Now granted, when you see this, that doesn't mean always that good things are going to occur. Sometimes that means it's good, and sometimes it's like, yeah, we're going to dinner theater this bitch, and it's bad. Case in point, Velocipaster. But that's kind of my whole thing. 5 years. See how this continues going on. See how different kind of things change. Because I am kind of surprised at how fast it has been that we are now going to be getting movies on streaming services like this. Like big ones in tandem with theater releases. Now, when everything kind of gets shaken out and we're able to do things more, there should be theaters. I mean, it's not like suddenly physical media has disappeared now that we've got digital shit going on. But it'll be interesting to see if, as these wheels kind of get turning and everything, what streaming services will get which kind of big movies and everything, and if they want to figure out how to do like a bigger kind of streaming service where more of the bigger movies are kind of congregated. Because honestly, even though this is a 5-year review, we're going to dive into this. It's not going to be deeply. It's interesting because we've seen we saw cable was like all fragmented in the beginning, all right? And we've seen the same things going on with streaming. So anybody that's like, it's a new frontier, it's like, we've pretty much been here before, so we're just waiting for the consolidation so that way we can actually, I hope that we're able to like pick and choose different kind of things to essentially make our own package, so that way, hey, if somebody does reviews on movies, they can get most of the kind of stuff and to figure out into a good package, a streaming kind of package, so that way they can get all these different kind of streaming services to see all these different kind of movies. Because with the way this is working out, HBO Max is definitely going to be that kind of big one that we're going to see how this kind of works out. If they have enough success of people watching these things on HBO Max, if that also turns on enough revenue for people to be like, hey, we can now watch these things in our home versus going to see them in theaters. Now, granted, I like theaters. I like going to see a big screen movie, have other people around as well. But sometimes I just want to, if I'm iffy on a movie, I just like to sit in my home, watch it, and be like, okay, I'm glad I didn't go out to fucking do that. Granted, we'll kind of see how this goes on, but it'll be interesting to see if we get this into an actual kind of more permanent place where it's like, hey, okay, consumers have choices. You can either go to the theater or you can stream it. This is definitely going to be a test year for that, and HBO Max is going to be the one that's kind of doing that in its kind of pioneering way. So we'll see how it works for them. and how that's going to work for other movies, because then we might see other streaming platforms follow suit with that to either gear up to their same advantage or be like, we don't kind of like that because of any kind of downfall that HBO Max might eventually incur. So that's going to be interesting to see and see how this kind of like works out, because if it jumps up pretty well, we could potentially see people like either create their own streaming services or try and work any kind of deals with any other existing streaming services. My money would be mainly on two big giants of Amazon and Netflix, potentially. Being like, okay, if they can work out good enough deals to send off big tentpole kind of movies that you'd usually see in theaters in there. Disney's going to be the weird one because they're acting like a bunch of dill fucks and would be like, hey, did you want to see Mulan? Well, you could pay $30 to see it on Disney Plus. And I'm like, the fuck is this shit, Fred? And everybody else was like, okay. No, I'm not judging you if you paid the $30 to see that. It's just like, the other ones are now including that pretty much in the subscription service. And it's just, I think, inordinately expensive to charge that much money for that. Now, granted, you are then captive in that kind of market to get that if you want to see that kind of movie. We'll have to see if they try and play that fucking game with a Marvel movie. Because I'm a Marvel fan. But I'm not going to be like, hey, and I want to see the Black Widow movie. Alright? And, see, you'd look at me and it's like, hey, well, you've watched all the MCU movies. You're watching the MCU TV shows on Disney Plus. Do you want to watch this? Yeah, $30. I'm going to no. Alright? You're actively disincentivizing it. I mean, par on like a movie, depending upon region and all that, like how you'd pay for a movie ticket or whatnot. Okay, but I'm like, that, if you pay that much, you should essentially be getting the digital copy of that movie. Because that's how much you would get with like a 4K Blu-ray, DVD, Blu-ray, fucking disc, DVD. Why the fuck did I say that? Ugh. Weirdness, technological changes, blah, blah, blah. But that's how much you would get that. It's like, okay, why would I pay like that much money for a streaming thing? Okay, we've gone a little bit ranty and rambly, but yeah, that's an interesting kind of thing that we'll have to see. So thanks for sticking around for 5 years and talking to my weird ass, and hope we have more for that. So thank you guys. Give me any ideas or whatnot you got in the comments section, and hope you guys have a good day.